Hey everyone, it's Logan from Cross Me Out. Today, we're going to be creating artificial guitar feedback. So, a staple of rock-based music is guitars feeding back into the amplifier. But as a bedroom musician, I can't turn up my amplifier loud enough to get that effect on its own. So, instead, I found a way to recreate the effect in my DAW. So, as a quick explanation, what happens is some of the upper frequencies of your guitar sound that are being brought out by distortion are resonating with the strings on your guitar, being fed back through the pickups, back into the amplifier, distorted again, and sent out through the speakers, and creating a feedback loop, hence the name feedback. So, my method that I've devised works very similarly to that. The first thing you want to do is figure out what chord is going on at the time you want the feedback. So this is my song, Remember. There will be a link in the description and on screen right now. And at this moment, the chord that's going on is a B power chord. That's what I'm holding. And what you're going to want to do is record a snippet of you playing that chord just on its own. Just play it and hold it out. You will use that and fade it in and out at the appropriate times. So next, what you're going to want to do is pull out some kind of notch filter or really skinny parametric EQ or something that allows you to pull out very specific frequencies by a lot. You can use some kind of FFT filter for this or something, but you'll need to be really precise with these numbers down here. Then what you're going to do is go to this page, which I will link in the description, and find A equals 440. That's what most tuners are set at by default. If not, there's a couple of options at the top, but find A equals 440. Then you're going to go down and find the root of your chord. So I have a B chord, so this is the number that I'm going to use. So you're going to do a little bit of math. I'm sorry. But pull out a calculator or your phone or whatever and keep that number in mind. Remember that number. So the first frequency you're going to have, mine are a little bit out of order, but the first one you're going to have is that number times 2. So whatever your frequency is times 2, that's going to be the frequency of your first harmonic. You're going to build it up. I have it at 40 dB. You're just really going to want to crank it up so that it really rings out different from the rest of the signal. Then you're going to take your frequency times 3, and that's going to be your next bump on this frequency chart. And then your frequency times 4, and your frequency times 5, and times 6, and times 7, all the way until you run out of spaces, basically. What this is doing is exactly what the guitar feedback is doing, is it's taking the frequencies of these harmonics and pulling them out and making them resonate louder in the signal. So then I have a hard limiter here to rein those back in. So you want them to be really strong but distorted. So I have this reining them back in a little bit. In the end, this hard limiter doesn't sound like it's doing very much, but it's just so that you can actually physically listen to it and see if it's working. So that's what we'll do really quickly is just see if it's working so far. You can hear a little bit of it, but it's not very strong, but you can hear something different about that sound than if that wasn't there. Than if it's just the chord. So next what you're going to do is just like the frequencies being fed back into your amplifier, you're going to put some kind of distortion plugin. So I have my stock guitar amplifier simulator. You could use any amplifier simulator or Softtube saturation plugin might work very well. There's a link to my video on that. Anything that causes distortion, and you're going to want to put that on. So I have the distortion, I have it as a fuzz turned all the way up, compressor turned all the way up. Then what you're going to want to do is make sure that you have a cabinet simulation. So you're boosting all of the harmonics all the way up, but guitar cabinets don't play all of those harmonics at equal levels. So I use an FFT filter for this one just because the Guitar Suite one wasn't working out very well. So you definitely want more guitar cabinet simulation, even if you're going to have more later of cabinet simulation. And really quick, something I forgot to mention is this is all on the clip effects. This isn't applied to the whole track, it's just to this clip, and then we'll fade this clip in and out. And then, just to rein in the dynamics, I have another compressor on here. It's pretty strong, it's acting as a limiter, just to bring it down to the right volume. So all of that put together on this clip, you can see I have it crossfade in with the clip before it and the clip after it. I would suggest, I didn't do it here for a number of reasons, but I would suggest putting this feedback on its own track and fading it in and out so that you don't have to worry about not hearing some of this important stuff. So, this is how it sounds in the end. It's not the most natural sounding thing, and the way I had it before was a bit different, but it was hard to explain, so I had to mess with some of the settings. But I said that one of the things that helped here was kind of a happy accident. And what that was this section before it is this ambient raked chords type thing. And I have an analog delay on it, just the stock delay. And there's this trash slider. And when it's up in the upper registers right here, it acts as sort of a distortion on the delay itself. And when it's really high like that, it ends up causing some feedback going on. So if I solo this track, it'll be mostly in the left ear if you're wearing headphones. If I solo this track, you can kind of hear it going on even before this artificial feedback comes in. You can see that I just sort of lucked into that effect. If you have something similar with some kind of resonance or trash or something that implies there will be some feeding back and some distortion going on, I would play around with that and see what you can do. Okay, so this is my cover of Black Dog by Led Zeppelin for a challenge that I was issued. There'll be a link to that in the description on screen as well. And that starts with the guitar feedback type of sound. This one didn't sound as much like guitar feedback as it did like a almost like a bit crusher type effect. But I just wanted to show you that these can the same principles can end up being a bit different and having a bit different a sound depending on your settings. So I applied the exact same principle. The first thing I did was this notch filter, which isn't as narrow, which probably contributed to the difference in sound. Um, but I have the harmonics. I started on 440 for this one. It's something you can just play around with, whether you want to start on the first frequency or start on double the first frequency. Boosted them up like 40 dB, like I said, just an insane amount. And then a hard limiter just to bring everything down and make sure it doesn't overload your plugins and whatever. So then, and I have an input boost, so it's driving it even harder. And then the guitar suite. So I have the compressor set all the way up. I have the garage fuzz set all the way up. I have, on this one, I had the cabinet simulation on and didn't have the resonance. So again, different things will make different sounds. And then amplify to bring it back down to an appropriate level. And this one I just had fade in. So this one was on an A chord, as you could see by the 440. And I have it in both ears. It's the same clip, just doubled over, just to make sure that it was balanced and didn't hurt one ear more than the other or whatever. So here's how this sounded. It was a bit different, like I said. Sounds a lot more digital, but I kind of liked the sound of it. Hey, mama said. So I also have a reverse cymbal growing right there, and something that is important to note is that I have delay on this as well. The delay is on my guitar bus. That's where this delay is coming from. The important part here to remember is that feedback does not happen on its own. Uh, it is a sound that is being created in a room. So it'll sound very weird for it to just stop. So before you saw that I had it crossfaded on both sides. This one fades in because I wanted that beginning sound and that growth sound at the very beginning. And because I wanted it to cut off and drop out before the vocals, it sounded too weird. So I put the delay on it. It's a quarter note delay. And it really just makes it sound, like I said, it becomes more of a digital effect, but it does make it sound like it really exists and isn't just a sound from nowhere that hurts your ears. So I just wanted to show you that different settings can create different sounds, and you're really going to want to play around with it to make sure that what you're getting fits both the style of the song that you're making, and also if there is, like I said, some of that resonance going on already, you want to be able to match the sound of that so it sounds like the feedback is actually being created. So, links to both of the songs that I used down in the description. If you have any questions, like what plugins would work best with your DAW, I might be able to answer those down in the down in the comments. Go ahead and leave a like; it really helps. Subscribe if you want to see more of my music or more of these production and gear related videos. I release something every other week, and some of these challenges, like this cover, are released occasionally whenever it fits best in my schedule. Um, and also, I know they tell people to talk about the bell so you get notified whenever I upload a video. And I guess that's it. So I'll see you guys next time.